What is good, guys? It's Rey-Jay back with another video, and in this one I want to break down what's going on with Tesla, SPY, Nvda, the QQQ, and a couple of other tickers. I'm also going to break down some news about the economic calendar and what things are looking like in the market so far, and some very important developments on the charts. Before I begin these all this information, let me just mention a couple of things. Firstly, I am not a financial planner, so take nothing I say as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo and deposit $100 into the account, you are guaranteed up to 5 free stocks. If you deposit $1,000, you're guaranteed up to 15 free stocks, and this offer ends very, very soon. Anyways, now let's break down what's going on with the market. I just want to mention that right now, SPY is pretty much just range bound, been going back and forth and back and forth. There was an attempt to push a little higher, but it's coming back down, and we're just continuing to trade within this range. And the question that now remains is what's the market likely going to do? So I want to talk about some very important levels and also some other tickers out there. The data that came out has been quite decent so far. PPI was decent overall, aligning with expectations. Kashkari spoke today, didn't say anything too crazy, and everything else is just very, very decent. And we also had the bank earnings come out. If you account for guidance and everything was very mixed in my opinion. We got some beats on EPS and revenue, some misses here and there. And on top of that, some banks had strong guidance, other ones did not have so much. I'm not going to go into the full details about them. I did go into some details in my morning video, but it's just too much for now. Just know that everything was pretty much mixed. That's all you really need to know. From this point on, we're going to be talking more about how the market continues. As a reminder, the market is going to be closed on Monday, January 15th for Martin Luther King Jr. Day. So there's not going to be trading on Monday. We have another 3-day holiday, which is going to be great, I guess. I mean, it's really good to have these holidays and just spend time with people we love. But now let's just talk about the charts. How are things looking as we approach the final hour of trading? So on SPY, very boring day, if I'm going to be frank with you. I was talking about how it looked very range bound, and we were pretty much range bound for the majority of the day. If I go to the 5 minutes time frame, this is one of the most important time frames in my opinion, at least for now. You can see we got this little pump when we opened as we predicted. A little pump should be coming, but I told you to watch out at this resistance at this 478 area. We got this rejection after they tried to trigger stops, came back down to 475, and since then it's been range bound for almost the entire day. There was one attempt to break above VWAP right over here, hitting 477, then we just came back down. We're still kind of stuck within this range, the 475s to about 477. We've been stuck here for the majority of the day, so it's been just going back and forth and back and forth. Might just continue on this trend until we close. Now, as far as SPY goes, there are a lot of puts expiring, which is why we could close to this range and still be fine. But it doesn't really matter as much, and I think that it's very important to still pay attention to some critical levels. So for SPY, basically, make sure you watch this resistance zone. 477 to 477.5 has some resistance. There's also some resistance at 478. That's a lot. Excuse me. That's a lot tighter. If we try to break above that and close above this, that's going to be like bullish. We could try to push up for 480 next week, but so far it doesn't look like it's going to do that. It's still range bound. If we're bearish, we're going to be watching support at 476 flats. If that fails us, watch 475.5. Below that, we have 475 to 474.8. Then we have 474 and this range down here, followed by 472.9. Overall, it's been range bound, back and forth and back and forth. Very, very boring day. I actually did not trade for the majority of the day. I just traded in like the first hour and then just like finished from there. It was very fun. It was very fun to play Tesla. We had a very beautiful setup. But for now, make sure you watch those ranges. Does SPY try to break above 478 to turn bullish? Do we end up losing 474 and turn a little bit more bearish, or do we end up staying within the range? Right now, it looks like we're going to stay within our range, not really doing too much, but always keep those levels in mind just to be safe. Otherwise, it's just back and forth price action, nothing too exciting for the rest of the day, and then we'll see if there's anything that changes. There's a long weekend coming. We could see some profit taking, but I'm not really expecting anything too crazy. So it might be very boring for the rest of the day, and that's all I'm seeing for now on SPY. Mostly just sideways range-bound price action. But Tesla had a very, very interesting day. So we had this falling wedge. I called this out in the morning once it started breaking. This was a very good entry for a big scalp. You could have entered here, got out very close to this resistance at 225, and just exited and taken profits from there. That's what I did, and that worked out very well for me. Hopefully, it worked well for other people out there off this wedge. But the thing about that is, even though Tesla did have a temporary break, it's now coming back in and still looking very, very weak. We have a very important level on Tesla, a critical level. Let me just pull it up and show you. You go on the weekly time frame and look at your moving averages, you will see, I think, the 200 moving average. That is going to be critical support for Tesla. So I'm going to pull up my moving averages and just show you. I'm going to close VWAP as well so it's not too messy. Basically, Tesla's fighting around the weekly 200 EMA, 200 moving average, excuse me, at 217.5. We're basically trying to close above this or below this. We'll have to wait and see. So that's going to be our very, very important level. I have it marked right about here. It's supposed to say 217.5, not 217.8. It's a little bit off, but this is where it's supposed to be. We want to see if Tesla closes above this or below this. If we close above this, Tesla could try to hold above this resistance slash supports for some time. And if Tesla ends up breaking it and we close below this, there's going to be a risk of more downside going into next week. So we want to be very careful. We'll see if Tesla could try to close above this support. We'll see if Tesla holds. Make sure you watch that very carefully. The levels to watch for are supports. We have this 217.5 zone as support. It's kind of shuffling in the 217s. Watch 218 as technically resistance now, but we like to chop around there quite a bit. If you get above the 218s, watch for 220 as the next critical resistance. And above that, we have 222.5, 223.5, and then 225. These levels worked very well when trying to play like this bounce that came in the morning. But now we're going to be watching to see how it does. If we lose 217.5, we continue to just lose that, the 217s in general. We could be heading down to the two, all the way down to the 215s basically pretty quickly, but that may happen like next week, or there could be a continuation. So for now, I just want to note that Tesla looks very weak compared to the market. We had a lot of bad news involving China price cuts, the production cuts and etc. So please be very careful with Tesla. Watch and see how it closes. For Nvda, as predicted, we're range bound, exactly as predicted. Nvidia kind of pushed when we opened up to almost 550, came all the way back down to about 543.5 ish, came back up and down, and we're currently at 546, going back and forth and back and forth. I think it's going to remain range bound, not really do too much. If you want to turn a little more bearish, you want to see it lose 542. If you want to be a bit more bullish, you want to see it try to break and hold 550. As of right now, it's been back and forth and back and forth. It might continue to do so for the remainder of the day, but watch those levels just to be safe. You can see the levels right over here. We also have a support at basically between 546 and 545. We have some support, but nothing too crazy. Just a lot of choppy price action, very boring for now. No surprise for a Friday, since that's what typically happens, and we have a long weekend coming. For the QQQ, just like SPY, range bound, almost exactly range bound. Basically, we got this little pop for another grab of this zone right over here. They're trying to grab liquidity and also trigger stops. We saw this during the pre-market. Then the QQQ came back down, and since then it's been range bound between 410 as resistance and 408 as support, back and forth, kind of stuck. If you want to be a little more bullish, let's see if we could try to close above 410. If we close above 410 and start pushing higher, there is going to be some more potential for upside. If we just remain range bound, we're just stuck for now. And if we lose 408 or close below this, there's going to be a risk of it coming down towards 407 flats, and then below that we have 405.7. In my opinion, it's been range bound. There's no sign of it breaking in either direction yet. So it might just maintain this trend, but watch your levels just to be safe. So far, so boring for the QQQ. Finally, last but not least, we have Aapl stock. Aapl is no different. Also range bound, very, very boring. I tried to push for 186.5. I'll give it some credit for that attempt to push. I did call this out in the morning. Then it came back down to 185.5. You could see how it was trying to hold that range. Came back down below that to 185, and it's been 185 to 186 throughout almost the entire day. Back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. Very, very boring. So what's Aapl going to do? If we're bullish, you want to see it try to break above 186.5. If it does so, there's going to be some more potential for upside from a technical standpoint. If we end up losing, excuse me, sorry guys, apologize about that. If we end up losing basically 185, you're going to be watching 184.25. I would say if it closes below that, that could turn a little bit more in favor of the bears. 184.25, that fails us. Right now, I don't see it basically doing either of those. It just looks like it's stuck back and forth and back and forth, very, very low volume, nothing too crazy. So it might just remain in this range, and we'll just see which way it breaks. But that's pretty much it for my video. Hopefully this video was a little bit helpful. I know there's not a whole lot going on, but these are some levels to watch for going into close. So far, there's nothing too exciting, so just be patient to do what you have to do, guys. Thank you for listening. Have a great day. I'll see you guys later on today, and peace out.